Welcome to our continued coverage of the NHL Trade Deadline here on the fourth period, presented to you by our friends at CCM Hockey. That's Dennis Bernstein. I'm Dave Pagnotta. And DB, some news going into the evening hours out of New Jersey. Not a trade, but a coaching change. Lindy Ruff out as head coach of the New Jersey Devils. Travis Green coming in as interim head coach. He was there all season. They're obviously familiar with him, but he now takes the reins, former head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. DB, your initial reaction?
Yeah, it's not just trade deadline, it's firing line, right? So here's the thing. The record, if you believe the Devils are a contender, and Tom Fitzgerald does, the record warrants it. They're 5-5-2 in their last 10. They're under 500 since January 1st, 11-13-2. They've given up 84 goals in 26 games, but I'm sorry, I can't lay this on the coach. Like, when you knew you needed a goaltender for weeks, when you knew that Dougie Hamilton's been out since November 30th, and Yogi Siegenthaler, his partner on the top pair, has been out for 13 games. You needed to trade for a goalie weeks ago. Weeks ago. He knew it. Now, look, Lindy's going to take the knife for this, but certainly this is on Tom Fitzgerald without question. Like, you should have made that move a long time ago, Dave. So I'm not disappointed in the move. I understand the move. But to lay this all on Lindy Ruff and the narrative that, oh, you don't want him to go home so the fans won't chant, really? You think Lindy Ruff's that salt that he can't, withstand chants from the fans to fire him? And it's happened before. Would have happened again. But certainly, I think all this is a majority of this is on Tom Fitzgerald. I understand the move, Dave, but again, I can't lay this on Lindy Ruff given the situation with the defense and the goaltending.
No, I agree with you. I mean, they've been looking for a defenseman for some time to supplement the fact that Hamilton's been out. They've been looking for goaltending for some time because the rest of what they have hasn't been good enough. This is a questionable decision for me. I understand you don't want to use injuries as the excuse, and they've dealt with other ones. Jack Hughes missed some time, Andre Palat missed some time, and so on. But this can't all be on Lindy Ruff, and he can't be the sole scapegoat. There are 4 days leading up to the deadline. Technically, at the time we're doing this, less than 3 full days until trade deadline time. They're trying to get Tyler Toffoli signed to an extension. We'll see what they can do here. The Jacob Markstrom deal, they thought they had. And then ownership on Calgary's side said, nope, we're not going to retain on Markstrom's deal for 2 more seasons. They tried to get Vanacek in the deal. Calgary doesn't want him.
Yep.
If this happens, it, by all accounts, will be the summer, as we reported last week. Calgary not interested in moving him right now. At least that's what they're telling teams. So we'll see what happens there, DB.
On the flip side, I was going to say on the flip side, Dave, look, other teams have changed coaches. Here in Los Angeles, it reinvigorated the Kings. They're 8-4 with Jim Hiller. I don't have to tell you what happened in Edmonton. Bannister's been solid in St. Louis, so that's one. But, Dave, look at their schedule. Like Travis Green, quality coach, right? He coached he coached Luke Hughes' brother. He coached with Markstrom, right? But here's the thing. They've got Florida. They've got the Rangers. They've got Dallas and Carolina for the next 5 games. It's not optimal to Travis Green for the way this team is coming in right now, the way they're playing. And when you watch them over the weekend in Southern California, it's not optimal to take over this team right now because they're just not playing good. And if Fitzgerald doesn't make any appreciable changes, it's going to be the same team going out there against those really tough competition.
Yeah, without question. And I get it that back in the early 2000s, they fired their head coach, went on to win a Stanley Cup. I don't know if that's the same situation here. Yeah, Marty Brodeur's not your goalie. So we'll see what happens here. But, DB, in your backyard, a little bit of news with respect to the Los Angeles Kings. Nothing groundbreaking. But Matt Roy is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. And there have been some question marks as to, are they going to try to re-sign him? Would they explore moving him? Well, they're not going to explore moving him because they're in the thick of things. They would like to explore signing him. But I'm told those conversations will not happen until after the season concludes. So any contract talks involving Matt Roy have been shelved for the end of the season. He's been a solid piece on that blue line for some time.
Yeah, he is. A couple of things on that, Dave. And when they changed coaches, he was asked about Rob Blake was asked about Matt Roy, and everything was deferred to the end of the season with respect to Jim Hiller's future, with respect to signing him. Arvidsson now. Arvidsson's been hurt a couple of times. I'm not expecting him to come back as a free agent. Matt Roy, look, they're the number 1 penalty kill team in the league, Dave, and he's an integral part of that. You'd like to keep that around, but we've been talking about Sean Walker for 10 years now about the extension, right? So, but if Sean's going to get $4.5 million, then Matt Roy's probably going to get over $5 million. And here's the thing, Dave. There's a guy that wears number 55 in Los Angeles. who's going to need a contract, who's playing great, who's arguably the best player on the team right now. So, well, Quentin Byfield's extension, whatever that could be, is it a Tim Stützle extension? Is it a bridge deal? That might impact the ability to bring back Matt Roy. But look, yes, I don't think they're going to trade him. It's a good question because they have guys in waiting. They have Brant Clark and Jordan Spence that could take over the right side duties behind Drew Doughty. They do have heir apparents to Matt Roy, but Matt's been a solid player. Again, part of the penalty killer, not a glamorous player. It's going to be a tough call given the other money that they have to pay out to some of their players.
Well, they'll be worrying about that in the summer. They've got a playoff chase to get their hands continuously on down the stretch here, even as we get past the deadline. And with Adrian Kempe, and you mentioned Victor Arvidsson, the likelihood of them returning before the end of the season takes Los Angeles pretty much out of any discussion related to the trade deadline. They have no cap space. They're going to roll with what they've got unless something happens in the next 3-4 days, which by all accounts seems unlikely. You mentioned Sean Walker, a quick update there. There is no update. They're still waiting to see how things go. It's been a little bit quiet on both sides as they try to navigate a contract extension in Philadelphia between the Flyers and Walker's camp. They're also trying to do it with Nick Seeler on a 4-year extension. We'll see kind of how all of that unfolds. They're also looking at 4 years for Sean Walker. I think his camp would be looking at 5. So we'll see if they can bridge that gap. Otherwise, Walker seems like a great candidate to be moved if they can't get that extension done. A quick one for us here on TFP, but our trade deadline coverage will continue. We didn't even mention Alex Wennberg and where he may end up as he's not playing tonight with the trade. By the way, Rangers, Avs, Bruins, Carolina, 4 teams that have expressed interest there. We'll continue that and more as the week progresses. That's Dennis Bernstein. I'm Dave Pagnotta. This has been our coverage of the trade deadline here on the fourth period, presented by CCM Hockey.